Hi, I'm Carol Robinson. Welcome to this edition of County Happenings, where we find out what's happening in the county by speaking to the county mayor, Rogers Anderson. Welcome, finally.
How are you today?
I'm okay. May not seem it, but I am.
You're so excited about this show. You know, before we get into it, we don't know the final results, but just in a few minutes, this show's been taped, everyone knows.
Right, so by the time you see this, you'll know the results,
you'll
but
know
we
the
don't.
results, but we have one of our high schools playing in the semifinals of the state high school basketball over in Murfreesboro today. And it is just, it's wonderful.
Exciting,
It
very
is exciting. You know, Carol, over the last several weeks and months, we've had Fairview, we've had Page. We've had
Brentwood.
both boys and girls at Brentwood. We've had a lot of success at our other schools. Maybe they didn't make it through the region, but it really beckons one to ask the question, what's happening?
Yeah, and we've had success in soccer, girls soccer. We've had success in football.
Ice hockey.
Ice hockey.
We don't think of Williamson County
Lacrosse.
being lacrosse. I mean, our sports program, I would like to say that part of that success is, number one, you're having people move into the community, which you have more people to choose from, more athletes that are getting involved. But I think another portion of that is that parents can identify their children a little earlier in life and have some specialized training to help develop their boy or their girl in a particular sport. And some of that is through our parks and recs, the different affiliations
we got all
have.
those little peewee kids playing out there.
You know, there's nothing more mystifying to me. I'm having grandchildren, as you are, and they're not quite there yet. But my oldest grandson, I think he's 5. It's fun to watch him go out and try to chase the soccer ball, and that's what it really is. There's 10, 15 kids on the field. One kid usually knows what to do, and the others.
And they're all beast to honey.
That's it. Beast. Reminds you of that little Peanuts character in you know, when it lists a little cloud of dust.
There's a Schroeder, or
I don't
one of those
remember
guys.
the name, but I remember, you know, you'd have one, and you just poof, there they all were.
Yeah.
It is cute, and they're more excited about who's giving them treats after the game. Now the coaches and the parents are wanting them to score and win, but to the kids, hey, what are we eating and where are we eating?
And that's what it's supposed to be about. But as they get older and they start showing interest, it's great to have the opportunity in other areas outside of school to play the games that they want to play. You're talking about your 5-year-old grandson. I'm watching my 2.5-year-old grandson playing basketball. And I mean, you know, he's got this little tiny short basket, but every now and then he actually gets the basket in, or the ball in the basket. I'm thinking, whoa.
Well, and you know, I just wanted to give the acclimates to our athletic directors, our coaches, above all, our athletes.
It takes a lot of discipline to be an athlete.
It does, and it's. I realize very few of those individuals that play will get an opportunity to play at the next level, and even a fewer amount that goes on to the professional.
But it's
rank.
what they're learning while they're playing: the discipline, the teamwork, the good sportsmanship.
And all of that is. None of that is more important than the academic side, except if you're a superb athlete, and we've got several. I know you don't follow sports like I do, but we've got about 3 or 4 young men right now in the baseball professional ranks. Some of them are in AAA, some are in AA, but we've got a couple that are in the big leagues, making the big bucks. And I think that is something that all young people. I remember as a boy growing up in East Tennessee, we were playing baseball in a field. We had a piece of cardboard. We had a bat that looked like it had gone through 100 years worth of throwing out in the barn.
It once was round.
It once was round. We had a glove that, you know, the fingers weren't tied together very good. That was a different era and a different time. We had one baseball, and you saved and protected that baseball. But to us, to be playing in a field with a bunch of other boys, and dreaming and playing. In those days, it was either St. Louis or New York. There wasn't an Atlanta that you could play in. And dreaming that you were pitching or that you were getting ready to hit and the bases loaded and it was the bottom of the ninth and 2 outs and et cetera. I mean, the whole drama was so critical. And then you watch the way that sports has migrated to the point today. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good. But it's truly the emotional side of the individual that has to develop that. It kind of leads us into a segue of it's kind of like budgets. It just seems like we're still dealing with those dramas every single day. We're always in the bottom of the ninth and trying to figure out how to make dollars out of pennies, and it's an interesting journey.
So what's going on with the budget now?
Well, this time of year is literally, we talk about numbers all the time, but this time of the year is when all of the elected officials and the departments and the appointed officials put together their numbers with some guidelines that the Budget Committee, which is being chaired up by Ernie Williams this year, those guidelines are we'd like to have a no tax increase. We'd like to, for you to really present your budget that you had last year and the one you had the year before and the one they haven't changed.
Right.
Mainly because of the recession. And you can move the dollars you have around in the areas because we know, just like at your household or my household, electricity needs are increasing. The gasoline cost have certainly increased. But we've had other areas, maybe we've been able to economize over on, let's say, IT side, the computer side. Maybe we've bought some software that helps us to operate a little bit more efficient. So you're allowed to move the money around within the operational side to make your budget work. And as we go through this process for the next several weeks, and it's about an 8-week really process, that you drill down, that you try to look at your revenue stream, what could we eliminate?
So when your departments, and excuse me, but when your departments start their budget, do they start zero base? Or do they start with, okay, this is what we did last year, and we go with
we go with the last year. We did a zero-based budget, and you've kind of caught me flat-footed, but I would think 6 or 7 years ago, right at the beginning,
at the recession.
Right at the recession, we said, okay, what could we possibly eliminate it? And we did that. We really went back and said, all right, you have to build it back up. That was a very laborious process.
Right.
I'm not saying we shouldn't do that every year, but we know there are certain fixed costs that aren't going to change from year to year. That's just the way it is. Electricity, fuel, some of those public utilities, which if you look at Al Ritter's budget in the property side, he's having to pay for all the lights at all of the buildings. Or Doug Hood's got an area. I mean, he's the only exception to Al Ritter.
Because he has an income there too.
He has an income, but of course the income will never match up with all of the utility needs that one has. I think it does a very good job. It accounts for about 46-47%, if my memory serves me correctly, of being able to charge the people for going to exercise and using those facilities. It's not free, but the yearly passes or the daily passes, whatever they are. But we really start from last year's budget and then we peel off. I've got some really good managers. They can go in and say, well, for an example, 3 years ago, during the recession, 3 and 4 years ago, we changed out our phone system. And so we had some upfront capital costs that first year. We did about half of our people in 1 year, and then we did about 25% the next and 25% last year. Well, there's upfront cost to buy new phones, new phone lines, create some things. All of our phone lines go through our computers. They don't really go on a direct line. We do keep direct lines, or what people call landlines, in just about all of our departments for emergencies. And there are some things you have to have a landline for that the internet cannot be used for. Now, how much do we say? We feel like that, we felt like at that time that we would save, after 3.5 years, we would see significant savings in all of our programs. So again, it's like your house. You have to invest money to save money, but the investing of money creates jobs someplace out there. Replacing your windows, the single pane windows that you and I grew up in, to double pane. I mean, just in this complex alone, this is not an efficient building.
No, it's
by
not.
any stretch of the imagination. It's sound, it's paid for, it's functional, but it is not efficient.
It is an old hospital.
It is an old hospital, and we didn't look at things efficiently when, particularly in the area of glass and those types of things, like we do today.
Yeah, back in the 50s, the utilities were so inexpensive.
Yes. Well, and today, I would say that Middle Tennessee Electric, who is our main utility here in the Williamson County area, NES does handle some of our upper Brentwood area, Duck River down around the Spring Hill area, but for the most part, Middle Tennessee Electric handles it, and I'm sure they could show on their numbers base how things are still very efficient as compared to the other parts of the country. Now, as you know,
Middle Tennessee, as part of TVA, is supposed to be a nonprofit organization.
That's correct. Of course,
so, yeah, that's different than
for profit.
Right.
So, I mean, to go back to your question on budgets, it's always difficult. Now, the biggest cost of any business or any government is the operational side, the labor side.
Right, right. That's usually 80%.
It's up there. And then you've got in the school side, which is an enormous labor pool. You've got the teachers, you've got the assistants, you've got all the support staff that goes with that. Clearly, we talk about, and you and I have talked in years gone past, that we opened 5 schools in 13 months.
Yeah.
And how much that cost. And it's a large number. But to put the key in the door in an elementary school,
that's just the beginning.
And it's just the beginning, because you've got the heat and the cool, you've got the teachers, you've got the assistant people.
That's the books and the desks and
all of that is ongoing year by year. So when you add an elementary school, if my numbers are correct, on an average, about $1.6 million you've just added to the budget, like that. Middle schools more, high schools even considerable more, because you've got more people and more activities going on. So when you open 5 new schools, without question, you've opened $8 million more of operational cost in just 5 schools, and that may vary based upon what kind of school it is. And so for you and I, you don't show gray hair, I do. In the
only my hairdresser knows.
Over the
And
20 years that we've had here, I remember in 1986 when I first came on the scene as elected official, I think the budget was somewhere around less than $50 million. This last year, our total budget was nearly $400 million. So you figure since 1986, what's happened? Well, all you need to do is go out and
look at the 42 schools
and all the people that have moved here, and all the recreation that we put in, and that really concerns a lot of people. Certainly the no growth people, the different political parties that say, well, one, we ought to do this, and one's doing that. It's a balancing act, but the fact of the matter is now, it's just you can't shut it off.
No.
And so you have to manage it.
And there are ways to control.
Yes.
You can control the growth by where you put services, and how large the lots are, and different things that you've done already.
And I know oftentimes on this show, we get into some of those little areas that some people don't quite understand, but about 90 days ago, not that they don't understand, but not all the data and the facts is out there at the time, because I think if we're spending your tax dollars, and you live here and I live here, we should have representation either through your alderman or through your county commissioners or your school board. But just in the last 90 days and 60 days, I guess, we had an incident that happened up in the New England area, that it was a major deal for the entire world, but particularly the United States of America, that funneled down to the local level when we started putting school resource officers into a conversation that we wanted them in every single school. And not just Williamson County Public School Systems, but we wanted Franklin Special School District. So when you do those things,
you've just added $1.6 million to the budget.
That was for very good, 1.7 million on the operational side. But the initial, we have to go buy 32 more vehicles. 32 more uniforms. We have
32 more
sidearms.
guns.
That's right. You automatically, I was looking at some numbers here with the sheriff's budget. You have added approximately almost $6 million to his budget by that one
move.
Now, was that the right move? The commissioners voted it was. Does that please everyone in Williamson County? Absolutely not. But one of the things we focused on, we needed to provide a safe place, and this was just the start of it. The SROs are more of a deterrent. It's more of a, you walk in the building, but if something goes wrong, we expect that man or woman that's in there to neutralize that position and provide a safe environment. Now, all of that's to be said. We can argue the pros and cons, but the decision was made, the buttons were pushed, and said, now, Mr. Mayor, fund that.
Yeah, and now you got to find the money.
And now you have to move the money around. And if you just look at the sheriff's budget, I mean, we have more people. We have about the same number of, we added 3 law enforcement people last year. 840 has opened up since we had the budget last year. We know
That's
more
another,
accidents, more traffic, and the feds and the state, they don't send down extra money. And the majority of 840.
You got the road, you take care of it.
That's right. You've got your rescue people. You've got your emergency management people. We've had a mild winter, considered most of the things.
Just very long.
But it's long. But we've had a lot of accidents on a road that we never had to service before. And so all of these things start adding up. And of course, the other side of it is, well, what can you eliminate to do over here? Well, when you eliminate, you get the side over there saying, don't take it away, don't take it away. So it's a constant battle.
Yeah.
But we'll get through it, and the ultimate bullseye we're shooting for, which we will accomplish, is not to have a tax increase. But some folks we're gonna have some winners, and we're gonna have some losers. And we have to make decisions, unlike Washington.
Oh, I know, yes. You have to make the decisions. Washington can just put it off and print more money.
Or print more money. I'm very accessible. Our commissioners are accessible. Our school board members are accessible. Our city leaders, we go to church with you. We shop with you. We walk the same streets, drive on the same crowded roads, and therefore we cannot postpone or have what do they call it, sequestration?
Yes, sequestration.
Sequestration. That sounds good to me some days.
Yeah.
We can't just walk away.
And just let somebody else's decision go into it. Well, and on a happy note, we've gone through. The budget now has to be completed and it will be voted on in July.
Yes.
The first Monday in July?
Yes. No, second
Monday in July. Second Monday in July.
Second Monday in July is when we have an all-day session. We will have the budget finished somewhere the first part of May.
Right.
And that by finished, I mean it's gone through all the committees. It has either had the blessing or has not had the blessings of the different departments. Right. The budget committee will have made its final recommendation. And it will sit there for about 45 days. We try to get ahead of the curve. In
case things happen.
In case things do happen. Many counties don't even start on their budget until July 1.
Right, right. I hear counties that they're still voting on it or still working on it in October, and the year's already started.
And state law is clamping down on that because it's hard to plan, particularly schools. But it's hard to plan when you have schools opening up in August and September and you haven't finalized the budget, so you don't have any more money than you did. And so you get into this tit for tat, you get into this confrontational type of conversation. Well, if you do this, we'll do this, and if you don't do this, we're not going to fund that. And the first thing you know, state law says you had to have it done, but I think it's October 10th.
That's what I thought.
And it's almost simultaneously with when the tax bills go out. So the earlier you have it out, the easier it is on Joey to be able to send those services out. There are some people that pay their taxes on October 1.
Don't get it.
There are those people. Most of us.
We're not one of them.
Most of us pay those taxes at year end to take advantage of that deduction on our income tax, or you wait till the February. Well, here we are, the middle of March. February is just finished. The last week
It was
around
flooded.
It was flooded around here. Lots of people pay at different times,
Yeah.
but the law says it's due payable on October 1. You have until the end of February to make that payment. No,
It's like your mortgage. It's due the first of the month, but you have till the 15th to pay it.
except you have 5 months to pay
Yeah.
it. Now,
Well, when it's a little, well.
but you stop and think, from July 1 of this year, and so the final count of money is not due into February. It's
You're
that
kinda
money.
operating in
It's
a-
kind of, yeah, you're kind of operating on a little bit of last year's money
Yeah.
and the year before money, and it is no different than your household. If you don't get a paycheck for a few weeks, it starts straining you just a little bit because you know it's coming, but all of a sudden it's not there.
But the bank still wants its money.
Yeah, and you can look at me. The grocery store wants to be paid when I
Yeah.
go through there and buy my food.
Well, I'm getting paid in February.
But it does challenge your system, and that's kind of the way the federal government works. Only theirs is a year in advance.
Yeah.
Ours, and so it does make people like Leslie Holman and Nina Graham, our budget directors, and respectively the two largest departments, saying, we don't really get all that money, so we don't really have it. Now you have some coming in, and you can live off that, but every
And you know you're not going to have it, so you basically your working budget is a little bit different than your actual budget.
Absolutely, and oftentimes for the last several years, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years, the schools want to do a short-term loan to be sure they've got the money in the bank to make payroll, and so all of a sudden you may need $10 million to carry you through until the final tax bills are coming in. So you got to go borrow it from the bank,
Now you got to pay interest on
and
that.
you got to pay that interest on that. So, you know, I seriously doubt I'm going to go on the campaign trail or out on the stump convince people you need to pay it October 1.
No.
I'm pretty good salesman if I can do that. I don't need to be here. I need to go to Washington. But quite frankly, I doubt I'm going to get anybody to do that to feel sorry for us.
Right.
So, but we do have to make payroll, and we have to pay our bills.
And that's just to explain
That's
that
right.
that's what happens when you hear that, you know, when we write stories that the school just had to borrow $10 million to make payroll, and people are wondering,
Are we broke? No.
yeah, it's because the money isn't coming in.
Got the
just
fair
yet.
coming up though in a
Got
few
the
months.
fair, yeehaw, rock and roll, and here we go.
I'm excited about it. This
Yeah.
one. Should be a colorful fair.
Yeah,
rock
I
around
really
the fair.
loved because I like the cowboy thing,
Oh,
so I
yeah.
liked last year's, but I think this was also going to be a lot of fun.
Of course, it will be here the first Friday in August. The theme this
8
year.
days.
Yeah, 8. Oh,
8 very long days.
hot days. Continues to grow. The
Yeah.
interest is phenomenal. I just can't. I could not imagine when this idea was kind of crafted up that it'd ever grow to the point that it is today. We don't lose money. That's important.
That's important.
We are a 501c3 that we have to rent the facility. We have to pay our bills. Speaking of
Yeah,
bills.
because people think that it's the Williamson County Fair, so Williamson County is supporting the fair. The fair is an independent
Yes.
entity. Pays rent on the Ag Center, pays its own bills.
And it is, I mean, we have expenses just like everyone else, but I believe the model is there for us to have success. I was talking to Diane Giddens the other day and a few of the folks.
The fair lady?
Yeah, the fair lady. In 2014
Next year.
is our 10th anniversary.
I just can't believe that. I just can't
And
believe that.
we
I
have got-
remember so clearly, like it was yesterday, 2004, when we had the first fair. Oh,
Yeah.
my Lord.
And we've been away from fair business for 56 years.
Yeah.
And so next year it's a 10-year fair. So we really need to come up with something special, a
Yeah.
new theme, and so.
Start thinking now.
That's true. And if you're watching this and you like to contribute your time and your energies, that's probably more.
And ideas.
And ideas. We brought in a consultant last fall, free of charge, that gave us some ideas for this fair, and we're incorporating more and more of the schools, the children in it, because the fair is really about education and agriculture.
Right.
Dwayne Perry just was sharing with me just this week that on the cattle show we're going to try something a little bit different. And we had one of the largest cattle shows in the entire state of Tennessee last year.
I thought maybe I was back in one of the country farms out my way with all the cows that were around at the fair.
Well, and you know, I'm very happy with the success of the fair, but we do need more people that want to participate.
Yeah, the bigger the success, the more help we need.
And we're limited in space where we've got, it's a constant battle. Where do you park people?
Yeah.
But for the most part, the enjoyment you get out of the fair is seeing the smiles on the faces of the children and the adults and people like you and me that haven't seen somebody.
And I'd love to see the teenagers, that they just have a ball.
Oh, yeah. And it's
someplace where they can be let loose. They're in a safe environment. I mean, mom and dad can just drop them off, and they can go to someplace.
We don't allow alcohol on the facilities.
No alcohol, and I mean, mom and dad can be over here, and the kids can be at the Midway, which is where they usually are, just having fun.
And the law enforcement community, both Franklin and the Williamson County Sheriff's Department,
they work really well together.
They work together very well.
Yeah.
You got a couple of minutes on a few other things.
Well, we want to touch on wine and grocery stores. That's going to happen one way or another. And there's a lot of liquor stores that aren't real happy about it, but
well, our legislative group of 4 men that we have, and Charles Sargent, he's kind of the dean. He's
Mr. Budget.
Mr. Budget. He's number cruncher, and then you've got Glenn Cassida, and you've got Jeremy Durham, and then of course our Senator Jack Johnson, who represents the whole county, not just a particular district or an area.
And they've done pretty well listening to what the liquor stores need.
I think they do a good job with you talking about wine in grocery stores, or you're talking charter schools or voucher. And those are things, I love someone's comment made to us recently. We can influence our representative. You can, I can, people in TV land. But at the end of the day, they vote on it.
Right.
Now, it may have an impact on us and it may not, but whatever they vote on, whatever they do up in Nashville, Tennessee, it's like Washington. We have to do it.
Right, right.
And it's
well, and you know, going in, basically, when you vote for these people, what their philosophies are.
yes.
So
Shouldn't be a lot of surprises.
Yeah, exactly. The way they're voting is, if they're true to their philosophies and their beliefs and their values, then they're voting that. And if you don't like that, then you boot them out.
And I've always said we do have term limitations.
We do. It's called the ballot box.
It's called the ballot box, and if you don't use that, then that's your fault, not mine.
Exactly.
I know we're probably
almost
out of time.
Yeah. So I hope that you have a great the next month is really fun for you with all the budget and the nice weather and getting back into seeing your grandchildren.
I'm looking forward to it. Well, see you next month.
Yes, sir. And see you next month on County Happenings.
She's got all these new friends, and I know they're not necessarily the best crowd.
Want to build a relationship at home where your teen is free to share their feelings? Take time to talk.
Oh, well, first of all, I'm glad you got invited for fun.
Take time to listen.
I don't want to make her upset.
If your teenager wants to tell you something, give them your undivided attention. Let home be the place where you talk about subjects that are fun and about subjects that are difficult. Don't know where to start? Books can help. Regardless of the book you choose, after reading it, take time to discuss what you've read and talk about their feelings and concerns.
If I was in that situation, would I be able to do it or not, you know?
Remember, your teen's ideas are important, and your ability to listen is key to fostering a positive home environment. This Choose Success moment has been brought to you by the Middle Tennessee P16 Council.